mission, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be. For justice, the wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When these crime busters run, no victims left in vain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great day so far. Hello, Ginger, Noni. Good to see you guys. Good to see ya. So it feels funny that we're over our series. It was doing so well. It's amazing how many views we were getting from that one. Hello, Brenda Jo. Good to see you. All right. Well, I had a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys. One was an update from At Night. Statement regarding escalation of cybercrime concerns linked to streaming personality. At Night, Private Intelligence and One World can confirm that we have become aware of troubling statements and conduct by a self-described volunteer affiliated with a popular Netflix personality who has been openly instructing individuals to pack up as their days are numbered and the ship is sinking. Interesting. This individual, who has been increasingly aggressive online, has further made veiled references to breaking through corporate barriers, language that raises significant red flags in the realm of cybercrime, particularly when paired with organized efforts to misappropriate sensitive data and target private entities under the guise of sleuthing. Let us be abundantly clear. I like that they use that. Not crystal clear. Let us be abundantly clear. There is no gray area when it comes to crossing into the realm of unauthorized access, harassment, or infiltration. Private businesses, investigative firms, law firms, and victims alike are protected under federal and state laws. Breaking through technological protections or attempting to solicit or incite such breaches is a crime, not entertainment, and will not be reframed as content for any streaming platform or future mole show. In response to these developments, and after careful review and consultation, At Night and One World have escalated the matter to Netflix Corporate Security and Legal Counsel for review and action. We will also pursue notification to relevant law enforcement agencies and any necessary regulatory bodies should further attempts to commit cyber intrusions be detected or substantiated. While the search for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers remains our foremost priority, we are equally bound to defend our team, volunteers, affiliated counsel, and private citizens from what has become a growing campaign of reckless and dangerous misconduct. We remain resolute, clear-eyed, and unwavering. Anyone seeking to make this search effort or this tragedy a platform for criminal mischief, targeted harassment, or unauthorized access schemes will face swift and lawful consequences. Further updates will be provided when appropriate. So, some more people at it again. Go figure, still, again. When the ship is sinking. Yep. Hello, Sam, Melissa. Good to see you guys. Melissa says she's going to try and watch. They're flying back from Utah. Oh, well, it's always going to be here though, so you can watch it on the rewatch crew. I agree, Noni. The hate needs to stop. It does. Hello, Katie. Good to see you. Thank you. We're happy to have you, Katie. So, yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to share. The other one was something that we did touch on last night, and I came across it today, so I saved it so that I could show it to you. And this one was when I told you that Chris said, well, I'm going to leave this here because people need to read this. I'm just going to leave it right here. Children that aren't taught accountability for their actions grow up to become adults that think nothing they do is wrong. So, all fine, well, and good. That doesn't mean this statement does not say that it's okay to call your stepchild the R word. It does not mean that it's okay to have 5 CPS reports because of said child. Does not mean that you can hit that said child with a belt. That statement does not say that. So thank you for sharing that with us, Mr. Proudfoot. We really appreciate that. But it still doesn't matter, right? I mean, I think we can all say that our children need to be taught accountability, right? I don't have a problem with that. Do you guys? I don't. Absolutely, kids need to be taught accountability. Doesn't mean I ever used the strap on my kids. I never called my kids an R word. I never ever had CPS called in my house because of me or my behavior. How about you? Exactly, Ginger. You can teach a child without verbal and physical abuse. Absolutely. Hello, Canine. Happy you're here. So, yeah. When I reread that, I thought, oh, you think you're so smart that this gives you leverage to be able to use a belt on your stepchild, number one. No, it doesn't. Oh, that man irritates me. But anyway, let's get into our spotlight on the missing with Granny. Our first young man today is Timothy Habeger. I don't know how you say that, but anyway, you get the point. Timothy's been missing since January 21st of this year. He was last seen in Nashville. He's 17 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall, 127 pounds, and has brown hair, brown eyes. If anybody knows where he is or knows anything about his disappearance, please call the Nashville Police Department, 911, or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Our next young person is Ivana Ramsey. Ivana's been missing since September 26, 2024. It's been a little while, guys. Last seen in Chattanooga, Tennessee. She's 16 years old, 5 foot 3 inches tall, 195 pounds, black hair, and brown eyes. She's got a cute smile, really cute smile. If anybody knows where Ivana is or knows anything about her disappearance, please contact the Chattanooga Police Department, 911, or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Our kids are important. Too many go missing. And guys, if you know of anybody in your state that you would like to have me spotlight, please send me that information to my email, or any tips you may have to granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Yeah, so why is he always justifying violence and physical punishment? Yeah. You know, abused people abuse people. So we need to look just a little bit further into who raised him, who abused him, who taught him that that kind of violence was okay. I'd like to know. Hi, Robin. Good to see you. Yeah. Be interesting to know, wouldn't it? Who taught him to be like that? I know maybe many of you have already seen this video, but I'd like to discuss it because it talks about what they missed. And we did talk about that a little bit in the AMW show, but they bring out a little bit more than that. So I thought this would be a really good one to look at and talk about together. So let's get started.
Five-year-old, 9-year-old, 14-year-old Gina DeJesus never made it home.
It's a family's worst nightmare. A son, a daughter, a loved one.
We're doing everything we possibly can to help you.
Gone without a trace. America's Most Wanted has brought justice and hope to families across America, helping to bring more than 65 missing children home.
Thanks to some tipsters, Elizabeth Smart was recovered alive.
Now we carry that legacy forward with a single mission: to bring the missing home.
This hole in my heart where Chelsea's supposed to be.
We've assembled a team to lead the search, boots on the ground. From America's Most Wanted, Callahan Walsh.
She doesn't even know that she's a missing child.
Gabby Petito's father, Joe Petito.
Much those of you that continue to support Seth, we appreciate you. As most of you know, we had a special guest planned for tonight. I had reached out to Joe Petito about a week ago and asked him if he would like to come on and support Seth. And
so we did talk about this recently a little bit when we talked about the America's Most Wanted show. And that's one of the things I liked about this little clip, because they actually show Seth and Tony talking about the fact that they had asked Joe Petito. Because if you remember when we went over that, I said Joe Petito was one of the hosts on America's Most Wanted that night, but he was not a part of Sebastian's case. Seth and Tony are going to tell you right now why he wasn't.
Sebastian, and talk about Gabby's foundation. And of course, he was, as always, glad to do that, glad to help, and appreciated us asking him to do so.
Unfortunately,
as
I had a phone call this morning. I guess there's some vile people in the world that, still don't want me to find my son, still putting up opposition, and decided to be, that bad portion of humanity and threaten somebody. So, unfortunately, I understand. I don't want him and his family to suffer from anything. So I just think it's really vile that people can still do that. I just want to find my son.
So I talked to Seth this morning, asked him specifically what Joe had said. He said that Joe had told him that he had been threatened. His family had been threatened. His foundation had been threatened. I had no reason not to believe Seth, but I also wanted to talk to Joe myself. So I reached out to Joe, and I apologized to Joe for anything he was experiencing on our behalf. Asked him more specifically what it was that had happened, and he said that he was threatened to have his personal information put out there, and Gabby's foundation was actually threatened as well. So we're not going to dig any deeper into that. I just would like to say that it saddens me that anybody would threaten his family or his foundation. But Joe, if you're listening or you hear this, again, apologies on my behalf and Seth's behalf that you had to experience that. I'm blown away that there are people that are that determined to keep two grieving fathers from connecting, but we're not going to give that any more airtime, nor are we going to call people out specifically.
Car was parked literally right here.
True crime podcaster Payne Lindsay.
Somebody needs to be asked some hard questions.
Former undercover detective Derek Levasseur.
Maybe someone out there can do something.
And survivor and advocate Elizabeth Smart.
I'm here because you deserve your brother back home.
Working with investigators and listening to families.
Why would he take the van? Why would he take my phone?
There's no more waiting. Tonight, we're going to find them.
Someone knows something.
This little girl is still out there.
We need your eyes. We need your voice.
We're one tip away from changing the course of this case.
We need your help.
It's a missing piece to the family.
I miss my son.
We were given information that you guys have left the home. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I'm going back to work.
You're going back to work. What about you, Miss Proudfoot?
No, I'm not going back to work. Not yet, at least.
Did you leave the home also, Miss Proudfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
To accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Okay. When will you be back? Do you know yet?
No, not yet.
Are you concerned about being away while the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that. And I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
To the fact of not looking at the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him. As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Boo-hoo. I think they were really intimidated by Nancy Grace. And Noni says, I wonder how old he was when he got T-Sox as a stepdad. Don't know. I don't know. And Sam says, there's accountability and then there's bullying. That's right. That's right. That's right. Bullying, name calling, hitting your child with a belt. It's all, yeah, it's all wrong on so many levels. I like how, I'm trying to remember who did this one, but anyway, I have the link for this in the description of my video, so that if you guys want to see it again, you can look at it. But I like how they put things together along with the America's Most Wanted, because there are things that Chris and Katie left out. Do you honestly think those hosts did not know that Joe Petito was threatened? I'm sure that Joe Petito let them know that right up front and told them he couldn't talk with them. He couldn't be a part of this case, right? So they knew that. They knew that. But they didn't say anything about it. Many of us have said we've been very, very disappointed in this case, right? Or in this video in America's Most Wanted, other than the fact that Sebastian's name and face got out there, right, to millions of people, which is awesome. That is the one biggest thing that they did do, right? Yeah. There are so many missing children, and it's sad because like every day I'm showing 2, and I'm only showing them from Tennessee. Go figure. How many more are there out there? I mean, it's a known fact that there are 2,300 children that go missing in the United States every single day. Every day, guys. It's impossible to cover all those kids, right? Yeah, they didn't do their research, K9, at all. They did not. I don't even know that it was for God. I think they were very careful. But here's the thing. You had 2 of the parents on there who I'll bet that AMW never got any threats. I'm just going to put that out there. Because I think threats were stemming from a particular source, and that source was a part of this program. If you get my drift. Let's continue on.
Good evening. I'm Harris Faulkner, and this is America's Most Wanted Missing Persons, a new show following the lead of the iconic true crime series. We have one mission: to bring missing loved ones home. Every person you'll see on this screen tonight has someone waiting for them: a parent, a child, a friend, a community that refuses to give up.
Actions are going to speak much louder than words, and the message from Dog and I is that we're not slowing down. We will find Sebastian, and if Sebastian is watching, our message is we are coming for you. We are going to find out what happened to you. Everybody responsible will face justice, and they will be tried. We're in it for the long run, and we will bring Sebastian home. If you're watching this, Sebastian, we are coming for you. And if you get access to a phone, dial 911.
Tell them who you are. Tell them you are Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers and that your daddy is looking for you and that you are wanted by a lot of people.
You have a lot more than friends. There are millions that are waiting to welcome you home.
We, on behalf of Seth and myself, we appreciate all you and At Night and Dog and your.
That gave me goosebumps, guys. Again, I remember watching this a while back when it was on. When Nick said, there are millions waiting to welcome you home. How true is that? How true is that? Right?
Entire team is doing. It's funny how when you go through the toughest times in life, that's God puts people in your lives at those times for the right reasons. I look back to the first phone call that I had with you and Dog, and I'll be 80 in a nursing home and probably never forget that phone call. But it was the prequel to probably a long relationship. And we are grateful to have you supporting Seth, looking for Sebastian. We're grateful to have you as a friend, and we certainly appreciate all you guys are doing.
Yeah, I speak for Dog and I both. We never saw this turning into a friendship or now family. We consider you guys brothers. It's the first phone call. It was something for a comedy one day when we bring Sebastian home and he can hear it. And it's something that's interesting. You guys deserve the world behind you. If people just read between the lines, it's not hard to figure out what's up, what's not. Form your own opinions, but at least have an educated opinion. I ask that from the public. Unity will bring us to not just together, but it'll bring Sebastian home. We don't have to agree at all, but we can bring Sebastian home if the unity stays there. It builds, and we're not the only side is Team Sebastian, and that is Mr. Rob.
And Nick is absolutely correct. I don't know if you caught where he said, I ask the general public to read between the lines and look at common sense. I ask them for their educated guess. The first time that I reached out to Nick, he answered me back and he said, "What do you think happened?" Now, I'm not going to tell you what I thought, what I told him. But he really wanted to know what I thought. Well, I don't consider myself to be anybody, right? But he wanted to know what my thoughts and feelings were. Public support, like he said, it's not rocket science. Reading between the lines and looking at what's going on, it's clear, guys, what happened, right? Let me see what I've missed here. Yeah, K9, I agree with you. Their lawyer probably restricted a lot of the questions and direction of that filming. I believe that. And Robin, that's what I'm afraid of too, trafficking. The only thing they got right in it's foul play. Oh, he did, huh, Noni? Derek Levasseur, I think. Levasseur, something like that. I butcher it too. I never looked at his video, and I kind of made a mental note to do that after the AMW the AMW video came out, and I forgot. So I need to remember to do that. But you disagreed with what he said then, huh? And yes, K9, I miss Nick too. I miss him popping in here every once in a while just to say hello and to give us support, and he used to share my videos out as well, right? Very supportive, very supportive. I have nothing but good things to say about Nick. I don't care what anybody else says. He's been very supportive of Sebastian, of his dad, Tony. He's been very supportive of those that want the truth and speak the truth about what's going on in the case. So people can think and say what they want. Haters are going to hate, right? But I have a deep respect for him. I can't stand these so-called parents. Yeah, Ginger, right? It is clear who the prime suspects are. It really is. No doubt about it. I'm Sam, I don't. If something happened to him in the house, it would have been found with a blue star that they used, and there was nothing found. Not to mention the cadaver dogs did go through there. So there was nothing found inside the home. In my opinion, I feel that he was drugged and taken out at 3 a.m. with the flashlights to the vehicle. And by the way, Mob Crew is going to be on tonight at 7 p.m. Central, which is an hour and a half from now. Has some more news, evidently. So I'm interested to see that. Yeah. Nick hasn't given us any reasons to dislike him at all. And unfortunately, they did shut him up. Yep. Guys, yes, he's on parole. Yes, he had done something wrong. He's paid for his crimes, right? When people get out of prison after serving their time, they shouldn't have to, unless they murdered somebody. Whoops, I said that word I'm not supposed to say on YouTube. Unless they red rum somebody, which is totally different, right? We shouldn't keep rehashing things, right? He's paying for his crimes. He has to stay in Pennsylvania, leave him alone, right? Leave him alone. He's trying to do good. He's trying to do good, That's my opinion. Yeah, I hope it is juicy news too. It looked as though he had an outline of a figure. I don't know. Now, guys, that I don't fall for blob stuff. I just don't. I don't fall for blob stuff. So, yes, he's got his heart in the right place. That's right. He's doing good. He's been a help to me and to this channel. He's been nothing but sweet when he's come in here. He's helped share out the channel. He helped it grow. He wanted my opinion. And even when he got shut down and there was a death threat out on him, and I had sent a tip, he had a person from At Night respond back to me, telling me that Nick was not available because of threats, and to let me know, right? I have deep respect for him. It looks like those pics from the back of the house. Interesting. So that's interesting, Noni. You pondered the possibility is if Sebastian fell and had a head wound, that maybe someone used a little pond thingy they drained to wash their hands off. The only thing is the blood would have been found with the blue star in the home if he fell in the home. So, the hit at the pond could have been anybody, guys. I mean, how many people are out at that construction site every single day? I mean, heck, construction workers could wash their hands in that pond, right? And I don't know why you would. It was so muddy. But I'm just saying, right? So, and what Ginger's talking about with the pics from the back of the house again, that was, I don't know, there was a big to-do about it. Evidently, somehow, camera footage from the neighbor in the back of the Proudfoots, right, got into Stephen Crabtree's hands. Okay. I think through SF, because SF went off on Crabtree. Crabtree was showing them, and someone started taking screenshots and then sent them to the mob crew. And the mob crew, Chris from Mob Crew, discovered that the lights were on in the back at 3 a.m. in the back of the Proudfoots house. And so if it's those pics again, that's interesting. And yeah, that is true. If Sebastian touched the water and the drainage, just his scent could have traveled through the water to the drainage pond. Yeah, that is true. But either way, they said it was a false scent, so it wasn't Sebastian's scent. No worries, Noni. We're all here. That's what we're here for, right? We're crime busting. We're trying to figure this thing out, right? Because we don't know anything for sure other than Sebastian is gone, right? We all pretty much believe that 3 a.m. flashlight video in the car means he was abducted. You know, he didn't walk away from the house. Didn't have shoes on. To me, that means he was carried out. So, you know, from there, we don't know, right? We do not know anything. So let's continue on.
Rogers' side. That is Mr. Rogers is Team Sebastian. We are Team Sebastian, and we are going to bring Sebastian home, whether it's us, whether it's the FBI, whether it's TBI, whether it's Sumner County. Somebody is going to bring Sebastian home. There are countless people on the case, and we're not going anywhere.
And neither will we. We've assembled a team of experts who dedicated their lives to solving cases and helping others. Derek Levasseur. You may know him from Big Brother, but he also has worked undercover with the FBI, DEA, and Secret Service. Elizabeth Smart, a survivor and advocate whose abduction recovery was made possible through America's Most Wanted. Payne Lindsay, whose investigative true crime podcast, Up and Vanished, has brought cold cases back into the national spotlight. And tonight's special guest, Callahan Walsh, a familiar face to America's Most Wanted. Callahan does incredible work with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining us. Let's get to our first case now. A missing child, Sebastian Rogers. On February 25th, 2024, Sebastian's mother said goodnight to her 15-year-old son. The next morning, Sebastian was gone.
Hey, missing juvenile. Me and white male, 3 blonde hair, approximately 5 foot, 120 pounds. I was going to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants. Getting all those type of criminal autism.
Just walking around.
Sebastian is tall and skinny, has a contagious smile, loves video games, loves cats.
Sebastian's love for cats is so strong that still to this day, when me and his mom started dating, they had cats. and I am allergic to cats. So mom made the choice. They got rid of the cats so we could reject them, keep our life moving forward together. And still to this day, Sebastian will never let me live it down.
Boundless amount.
Boo hoo. I'm saying that a lot tonight, aren't I? Sebastian will never let me live that down. Well, first of all, before I'd make my son give up his pets, I'd give up the boyfriend. I'm just saying. Well, Chris had made a point of saying that all of the shoes in the house have been accounted for. So if that's true, which, none of us trust him anyway, they've lied so many times, then he wouldn't have been wearing Katie's shoes, okay? Yes, Robin, we pray with you that Jason never gets out as well. And for those of you who don't know, Jason is a man that has been up for appeal. I think it's every 4 years, right, Robin? And he red rummed and assaulted her daughter, Nicole. And so Robin has to go through the appeal process every 4 years to keep that man in jail. She should never have to go through. I don't remember the whole Elizabeth Smart story, honestly. I like your scenario, Noni, that Sebastian is strategizing and plotting until he knows he can kick some arse and get away to call 911. By the way, I love the picture of him on the screen right now. Look at that smile. Oh, I love his smile. He's so cute. And I realized that was when he was way littler, but still, look at him. Yeah, this video really does make the BS real, doesn't it? I mean, it just puts it right out there. Oh, K9, I'm sorry about your kitty. Blue Star is something that the police use to spray around to detect blood and other things in crime scenes. And yeah, for those of you who didn't see my video on Robin's daughter, go back and find it. Or maybe if Ginger can find it in my thing, she can put the link for that in there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exactly, Noni, right? Grandkids brought 3 cats with them. And yeah, you don't take their pets away, right? You take allergy meds every day. And here's the thing. Chris is gone half the time on construction jobs. So what does it matter? What does it matter? Maybe keep the cats out of the master bedroom. That'll help for him to sleep good at night. But the rest of the house, who cares, right? I mean, he's gone. So why should Sebastian have had to give his cats up And boo-hoo that Sebastian held it against him all that time. Kids don't forget that kind of stuff. They don't. You took away their fur babies. They're not going to forget that kind of stuff. They're just not. Let's continue on.
Ounce of energy. Sebastian reminds me of a deer prancing through the woods, you know, enjoying the smell, the breeze, new things. That's my son.
February 25th, the day before Sebastian went missing, Chris was in Memphis at work.
Chris wants to tell you, he wants to tell you, everyone listen, myself and anyone who will listen, that the reason he didn't get home till 1:30 or 2, leaving the job site at 11, I don't know if he specifically said 11, but he probably did, was because no one was there to relieve him. BS. He was off. On the same day, his stepson goes missing.
So Sebastian and I went to Texas Roadhouse. After dinner, right around 9 o'clock, he laid down. I heard a noise in his room. I said, I don't care what you're doing, but you got to knock it off and you got to go to bed. And he answered, yes, ma'am. And I said, okay.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. Earlier you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud.
Thud.
You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep. 10 o'clock. Told him to go to bed. And he said, come out of his room where he was playing. And he said, all right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. Love you. He went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. And that was the last time that I spoke with Sebastian.
After you find out that it's going to take some time for him to get into online schooling, what was the communication with Chris and Katie from there?
I let him know, and then all of a sudden they're talking about sending him to a facility and everything.
Gotcha. So it sounds like they didn't want to wait.
The next morning, when I went in his room, he wasn't in his bed. After a minute or two, when I couldn't find him, I called Chris and I said, I can't find Sebastian. He's not in the house.
They were at their wits' end with Sebastian's behavior. Yep. They approached Seth. They asked Seth, hey, can Sebastian come live with you? Seth, to my understanding, you say, I would love to have him, but with my work schedule right now, I can't be home at the times I need to be home. Can you hang on to him for a year so I can get my schedule together?
Well, he was already in school. I got off of work and I had a text message from Sebastian's stepfather.
I said, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but Sebastian's missing.
They went through the business of Katie calls Chris calls the sheriff. And then when all those calls were made, then they reach out to you for the first time.
The text was at 6:22. From my understanding, they called the sheriff's office at like 6:33. So,
Seth, what was the first thing that Chris said to you on the phone? What was the very first thing he said?
Don't be mad. I headed straight over to their house.
How did that go?
It wasn't a conversation.
Don't get mad. Don't get mad. You're telling the father of your stepson that he went missing. Would that be the first thing you say? Wouldn't be for me. And there is the link where we talk about what happened to Robin's daughter. So if you guys want to see that, I encourage you to look at that. Yep, he gave away the snake as well. So not only did they give away the cats, they gave away the snake as well. Yeah. CP giving her the old side eye. Yeah. I'm not sure when he goes back to appeals. She's still working on a case that she started last year. Wow. Well, he can sit there and rot for all we care, right, Robin? Speaking of her daughter's Red Rummer. We need to come up with a nickname for him. Right, Robin? Not call him Jason. We need guys, have any thoughts? Those of you who were there for when I talked about Nicole. Any ideas what we should call Jason? Because he doesn't deserve having his first name said. He's lower than the mud beneath my shoes. I mean, in my opinion. But yeah, why would you say don't get mad? Don't get mad. I mean, yeah. To me, those 3 words make no sense when you're about to tell the biological father that his son is missing. Doesn't make sense to me.
Conversation on where Sebastian could be. It wasn't a conversation on what he could be going through. It was a conversation about what Chris's mom's, what jewelry she wanted. What jewelry she wanted Chris to buy her on their next vacation trip.
I started driving through the neighborhood. I was panicking. I was looking everywhere. Like, where is he? What happened? Did he go with someone? Did someone take him? By the time I pulled into the school, Christopher was already telling me to turn around because the authorities were on their way.
And again, 30 minutes ago, she just learned that her son's missing. No window down, all for show, right there. Yep.
They used helicopters, they used drones, they used ATVs, horseback.
An extensive search didn't yield one significant lead or even a glimpse of the boy on any doorbell cam video. Days later, investigators combed through a landfill, still saying they had found nothing.
We have nothing. We just have speculations. As law enforcement's been criticized, we get criticized.
You are making yourself unlikable. You are making yourself untrustworthy, shady, not to be trusted.
As the father gets criticized.
Online sleuths are really analyzing videos and creating their own theories.
Sebastian is putting something in his pocket.
Surveillance footage from a neighbor shows 2 people outside of Sebastian's house that night. Something happened.
Tonight marks 1 year since Sebastian Rogers disappeared near Beach High School in Sumner County.
My life is not the same without my son. He's not here, and he's somewhere. Someone has him.
This year has been the worst nightmare I could have imagined to come along.
And the thing that really irritates me is this is not their home. There is a box on the kitchen table where they took all those pictures and his Legos and everything out of. Is that all they saved from Sebastian? Is that all they saved from him? And Silvers is right. He's shadier than you know what. He has done this to himself. They have done this to themselves. We haven't done anything. It's their words. It's their behavior. It's their actions. We haven't done anything. So was their AMW appearance the beginning of their new acting career? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, Hendersonville is spread out. So I wondered if they said that, because they said that on one of the first flyers that he went missing near Beach High School. Was it something Katie put in their heads? Because she went searching over by the high school that day without her window down. So I don't know. Or was it just to say what area of Hendersonville he went missing from? That's kind of what I'm thinking, more along the lines of, because people will understand where Beach High School is in relationship to Hendersonville, Tennessee, right? Yes, Katie, exactly. Are they standing or sitting? Please sit down. I've got something that I've got to tell you, and you know, it's not good news. Something like that, right? Not, don't get mad. I know, Noni, right? And that's an example of Seth being a better human than I am, because I know me and I would have lost my poop. Walking into jewelry talk when my child is missing makes my head spin. Yeah. Yep. I agree. I agree. You know, I think Katie has practiced crying. I mean, come on, guys. They have obviously watched Deception Detectives things, because they keep correcting themselves every single interview that they do. It's so funny. Hello, Chemistry Queen. Good to see you. The address probably, the Proudfoots probably told media they didn't want their home address put out. Probably. But what does it matter? We all know it. Guys, I know it by heart. Do you know it by heart? It's 1008 Stafford Court in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I know it by heart. I just don't know the zip code. I'm serious. Robin, Jason from Halloween. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still his name. That's the bad part. That's the bad part.
Live. And he has all sorts of confidence going on TV live saying, oh, you're not going to find him. How do you know we're not going to find him? If you know something, let us know. For you to say something like that, I know you can't sleep at night because you know what happened. Like, come on. You go on national television, lie after lie after lie, over here saying, oh, like, TBI won't let us go out to search for your son, or get on Nancy Grace saying, oh, we communicated with the police. We helped and everything. What did you do? Because it sounds like for the past 7 months is you went in an RV to vacation, came back and shot for a Harley, And the day that says you guys can't leave the house, you guys went to a fancy restaurant and dined out. And
Just wants whoever has him.
And guys, I don't always understand Hong. That little excerpt right there, though, I loved it. It was really good. He gets right to the point. You can't sleep good at night. I love it. I love it. Hello, Vicky. All right. Yep. Sorry to see you go, Vicky. We don't need any hate in here. That's a good point, Melissa. CP would let Faith have a cat. I'll bet he would. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Right? And the reason that I say that is because he wanted Nina to abort that baby. I think his mother wanted Faith more than he did, in my opinion. I think that's why he was trying to get her for his mom. All right, let's continue on.
Just give him back. It's my son.
Wow, that dad. You can feel it. So we want to talk about theories now, Payne, and what might have happened with Sebastian. What are your thoughts?
I mean, here's his house. They searched miles outside of that neighborhood for days. Helicopters on the ground. They even drained a lake. He's nowhere. I don't think Sebastian would have gone outside on his own. There's someone else involved here. Somebody who was familiar to him. But
Sebastian went to school one day because we were at the house. He got in trouble. He didn't have a belt on. I was like, "Where's your belt?" And got it. Whack. Kind of got him. So he goes to school and he tells the teacher. They're mandatory reporters. So the teacher reports it. That afternoon, CPS shows up to the house. Sebastian thought by telling on me, making it sound like I was so horrible that I was going to get in trouble over something stupid. And I was like, "No, Sebastian, you got punished, man. You got punished." And he was like, but, and I was like, "You got punished." And the lady took him outside. She goes, "Sebastian, just because you get in trouble and you get punished, you need to understand when you go and you say things about people and you lie and you fabricate things and you make it sound worse than what it is, sir, you can get in trouble for that."
It appeared to me, in my opinion, to be a retaliation for that report getting filed, that they weren't going to wait, 4 or 5 more months. They were going to go ahead and send him off, November, December.
A stranger to everyone else.
We also have to consider he could have left on his own volition.
Him telling me that my son was missing, my son has never been an eloper. He's never been one to go missing. Never have I ever had the phone call ever that my son was missing.
We know children on the autism spectrum tend to wander. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, nearly half of all children.
It really irritates me because I don't care what statistics say. Do your research and learn about the young man that's missing. right? First of all, I think that Sebastian suffered more from ADHD and CPTSD than he did autism. That's right, chemistry. The world is too small for hate, only love here. And that's one of the reasons why so many of you have said to me, you know, and made comments even under videos and stuff that you love the channel because you feel safe coming in here, and you know, there's no hate going on. We don't tolerate it, right? It's gone. We just don't put up with that. Yeah, Canine, exactly. Faith is a tool. He wouldn't have let her have one, I don't think. Ginger, what are you talking about? Were you outside with the lady, Mr. Chris? What lady? What did I miss? Let us know. But yes, this is one of the things that I got irritated about with this. They all kind of got it wrong, right? And I mean, I understand them not wanting to point fingers at any of the parents. Okay, I get that. But if they had done their research and known that Sebastian did not elope, right? And that even if you're going to take statistics, for example, typically if a child has not eloped before the age of 12, it's very rare for him to elope afterwards in an autistic child, if you're going to go with those stats for that a disability. Oh, that's right. That's right. Chris was speaking like he was outside with Sebastian and the CPS lady. Yeah. Yeah. That whole account, I do not believe Chris's account of that at all. At all.
On the autism spectrum will go missing at some point from their environment.
Wow.
But I think something caused him to flee his home.
The case, especially within the first 48 hours, was just shrouded with the belief that he was a runaway. And that's, you know.
That's because Katie and Chris put it out that he was a runaway. They didn't quite come out and say that, but they said, I don't know why he walked out that door. Right. But the sheriff that died, that was on the case in the beginning, said that young man came home and never left the house again on his own. And then conveniently dies, a week later? By a fall at a conference. That makes me wonder.
That was a huge hindrance, obviously.
That into the open arms of a predator? Or was there a roaming predator that just happened to see Sebastian walking down through the neighborhood?
I don't think he left the house on his own. I don't see how he walks out the front door, the back door, any other door, and dogs don't hit on a scent that is that fresh.
And to me, one thing that stands out is his shoes. He always wore his shoes according to his mom.
As soon as I walked in, like I remember walking up to the stairs, nobody saying anything. I opened the door, I walked in. The first thing I looked down at the left, and there was Sebastian's shoes. There was his old pair of tennis shoes, his new pair of tennis shoes that he just got, and the boots that I had just bought him. And it's like, well, all of his shoes are here. That's when I was like, why is his shoes over here? If he ran away, wouldn't he have shoes on?
Exactly.
And I mean, it was just.
But if he's carried out, he wouldn't
And what
have
was her
shoes on.
response to that?
She didn't respond to that at all. Neither did the law enforcement.
Yeah. She shared a story that as a younger boy, he walked through a pile of dirt, turned out to be a bed of fire ants, and he had.
And here's the thing, too. Now, nothing against Elizabeth Smart, but she didn't do her research. The story she's telling is true, but it wasn't Mom that told the story about the fire ants. It was Seth.
Had a thing about always wearing his socks and shoes.
Would he ever leave barefoot? I know that's something that's perplexed some people. And even people who have children on the autism spectrum have been perplexed by that. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It does not make any sense. If he knew he was going to go out walking or anywhere in the yard or whatnot, he would put on socks and shoes. He had a horrible experience as a child with fire ants. He learned. It's always socks and shoes, or at least something on your feet to protect you from what's on the ground.
Can't think that a 15-year-old child would get up in the middle of the night and leave without his shoes.
I would think that most of those homes have some Ring doorbell cameras. I would just be shocked if there's not a trail of cameras.
There's more cameras in that neighborhood than there are in the fucking jail.
There's this runaway theory that they went with right away. If he did run away, we would see him walking out of a house, I would believe, somewhere. The fact that there's nothing would indicate that somebody took precautions to make sure that he wasn't on camera.
In February, it's cold. So for me, that says that someone has come and taken him, or someone else is involved. Someone knows something. And as easy as it is to be like, oh, that could never happen. Like, your bedroom is the safest place in the world. Well, no, bedrooms are not the safest place in the world. I was taken from my bedroom. It can happen to anyone.
Yeah. So when you consider what you just said, Elizabeth, and according to Katie, that night, she goes to bed, he goes to bed, then around 10 p.m., there's a bump or a thud.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier, you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
Your son had some type of brain ailment that you guys learned of, either fluid on the brain or...
He had a pocket of fluid on the right bilateral part of his brain. It's been there since he was born.
Mm-hmm.
You have to watch him, make sure he doesn't suffer any head injuries or anything like that. It was too big for them to put a
stent.
A stent. It was not big enough to put a stent in, but still big enough to actually cause damage if he had. That's why I didn't want him in football.
Right.
I didn't want him putting on a helmet and going, head first into something, because anything that might cause damage to his head, it's not something like I want my buddy to be safe.
So I wanted to comment on Katie, what Katie said. Yeah, it's highly unlikely that he walked out simply because there's no scent. No cameras picked him up at all. He would have been seen. But I agree with you. With the environment that he was living in, I wouldn't have blamed him if he had. But I really honestly think that, kids, even when kids are abused, they still love their parents. right? And sometimes that's hard for us to remember because we want to just, right? But it's really true. I mean, kids still love the hand that abuses them if it's their parents, right? And so I think that Sebastian still loved his mother very, very much. Chris, I don't think so much. And I think he was afraid to tell his dad what was going on. That's my opinion. Because Seth said that Sebastian told him he didn't want to go back there, but Sebastian wouldn't tell him why. He was scared. He was scared. He was afraid of Mr. Chris. And by the way, what step-parent makes their stepchild call them Mr. Chris? That's bull. That's not showing them how to be respectful. That's dominating and showing your authority over them by making them call you that. Yeah, they made him miserable. Yeah. I just noticed that Seth always has his camera on when he's on panels. KP and CP hide behind a picture. Yeah. He does, which is awesome. You know, I think it helps people to understand, although I don't know. You know, people are going to hate no matter what. They say his eyes are evil. It's just such baloney, in my opinion. And Noni says a child will scream and cry for their mother even when they're getting taken out of the worst environments. That's right. They will. They will. You know, I think he loved his mom. And I think Seth probably ingrained that in him. That's your mom. You know? Because remember, Seth was a stay-at-home dad and mom was off at the Navy. So Seth probably did everything he could. Look at, there's your mom. Look at, you know, go to mama, right? He probably encouraged Sebastian to love her because there was not a bond, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with you, Ginger. I think that she betrayed her child. There's no doubt in my mind. Oh, you didn't know about his head? Yeah. Yeah. Chromosome deletion syndrome, which is water on the brain. And I believe that Seth said it's on the right side of his head. His right temple. Sorry, guys. Let's finish up here.
And you heard Katie indicate that there was a potential thud coming from his room with the knowledge of his head injury. How does that make you feel?
If I had heard it in my house, I'd have been in my son's room to find out what was going on. If I hear any kind of strange noise coming out of his room, wherever room he happened to be in, any room, period, I'm going to go find out what that noise is, verify, see what's going on. The fact that she would say that there was that type of noise and not go check on him, to me, is not proper parenting.
Based on your knowledge of your son's behaviors, do you believe he would have left the house in the middle of the night?
For him to leave and not have his shoes, coat, you know, take his switch or his phone, stuff that I know that he went with him if he was going to run away, no. But for him to leave without shoes or anything else on there, the situation would have to be severe enough for him not to be able to grab that stuff.
And that's what we've all thought, right? That if he did run away it was because he was afraid. Something happened in that moment. But I don't believe that that happened because there's no scent. There's no cameras. And somebody said there's more cameras in that neighborhood than in most neighborhoods. Just saying. Jason, it probably won't be until next year. Gotcha. Well, that gives you a year's reprieve, Robin. But you shouldn't have to keep going through that. Ah, okay. So, right frontal lobe, which would affect the left side of his body, is walking his gait. Yeah. Well, to me, hello, Sammy. Good to see you. The thud, to me, says something. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure if he... I mean, was it because of she gave him medication and... I mean, I don't know. Fell out of bed. I mean, I don't know. There's all kinds of scenarios out there that it could be. But I think that it's part of something, unless it's just a story that Katie made up. Ah, so Katie, your mom died of thud. She hit her head off something and had an aneurysm. Oh, I'm sorry. That's hard. Yeah. All right. Let's continue on.
Thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said...
So before she gets into her long drawn out thing, that was a yes or no question. That was a yes or no question. And we're getting this long drawn
well,
out.
whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
She calls out to him. He says, I'm fine. Yes, ma'am. I'll start moving. And then that's the end of it. And according to her, when she went to bed, the doors were locked. And when she woke up, the doors were locked. Were the windows locked?
What do you think about that thud?
So that irritates me about Derek as well, because he didn't do his research. We all know the windows were locked. So
Noise that she described, the rustling that was going on. I thought about it. I've looked at the house. His room is on the first floor, right? So his window is accessible from the outside.
It would be, I believe, but I know law enforcement went around the house and stated that none of the windows or screens had been tampered with. So as for the thud, I mean, I don't know what she would classify as a thud. If I heard something in his room I know I'd go check on him just because I want to make sure he's okay. I mean, he's got a medical condition that would definitely mean I need to go check on him just to make sure he's okay.
It's a big question. Were they secure? Because if they weren't, it could mean one of two things. That thud, him responding, was someone else in there with him?
Or someone was with him and going.
Exactly.
So I do want to bring up this home security camera footage. This looks like foot traffic right in here.
Yeah, if you look at the footage here, you can see subject number 1, allegedly, right? It looks like something that's illuminated, which, by the way, we haven't mentioned it yet. According to Katie, there was a flashlight that Sebastian liked using that was missing.
And Mama herself says, oh, a flashlight's missing. Again, that's such an odd thing for her to know is missing until they show her video that looks like a flashlight. And then the stepdad says, well, we were sure hoping it was, but we're sad to report it wasn't a flashlight. Well, if you've got 2 flashlights out there, why are you glad that it's not that? That to me would signify that somebody was out there in the wee hours of the morning with 2 flashlights, meaning 2 separate people, the night your child went missing. I mean, it's just odd.
So you consider that, it does look like 2 people holding flashlights.
Yes. That paints a picture that is foul play.
Yes.
So I want to help the public now. We want to find Sebastian.
You mean to tell me everything that's tragic in your life, you don't ever stop? You lose somebody in your life, and all you do is you just sit there and have the negative times. And when you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. But when you die, the world cries and you rejoice.
What do you say to people, Elizabeth?
First of all, to the 16-year-olds of the country, the high school age, really, if you know someone who looks like Sebastian, if you know something about Sebastian, tell your parents, call into the show, call the police, report it. This might be the break that we need. To the parents, if you have seen a 16-year-old boy that looks like Sebastian, do not be afraid to pick up the phone and call.
There is a $50,000 reward.
At Night Private Intelligence Agency, a reward.
So that's the other thing that I don't understand, why AMW did not recognize the award by At Night. I don't understand that. Yeah, they had no idea what the lights were. The blue thing that I was talking about, Blue Star. Let me look it up. That way I can give you a correct definition. If I can find it. There's a lot of stuff with Blue Star. Let me see. For crime scene. Okay. So it says, this is their Blue Star Unique Forensic. Blue Star Forensic is the most effective blood reagent for use at crime scenes or in the laboratory. The extreme sensitivity of Blue Star Forensic allows the detection of blood traces with the naked eye up to dilutions of 1 to 100,000. So in other words, if there was blood there, it would have shown up. And guys, if you know anything about forensics, and you've watched any court trials or anything where they've talked about forensics and things that they've used to detect blood, even if somebody is cleaned with bleach, it can still be detected. So just wanted to let you know that. Let's see what else I'm missing here. I agree with you, Noni. They could have replaced Derek with Mr. Lorelodge. Just saying, I'd already replaced Mr. Towhead with Detective Yummy. Yes, right? Right? I mean, they could have. I'm just saying. I think AMW was very unfair to Seth in this video. Yeah. Makes me wonder about who the John Walsh is. If you guys know anything about John Walsh, he was a creator of America's Most Wanted. I don't know how much creative control he has over this segment, but he had a son that was kidnapped, abducted, but was killed. So his heart's in the right place. I just think that they're trying to cram too many people into this segment, and they didn't do enough research on Sebastian's case. If anything, in my opinion, they should have at least contacted like Aiden from the Laura Lodge to get more to get credible information, right? They didn't even talk to law enforcement on this case, and I didn't look at the other cases because I was so disgusted by this one, how they handled this one. I didn't want to see the rest, which is sad because I know it's about missing people. So kind of berating myself for that in my head. But they should have done more research, right? If that means, it's kind of like me with my spotlight on the missing every day. I've thought about just going back down to one because it's a lot of work, but I'm going to keep it at 2 for now just because there's so many, right? But you can't allow the quality to be gone. They were on national TV talking things that the rest of us knew weren't true, that have been following this case from the beginning. That's sad for them, in my opinion. Yeah, they should be ashamed for putting out misinformation. Huh. That's scary. But they had to have known at some point that, in my opinion, Sebastian deserved a full hour. Not, what was it, 11 minutes? I'm just saying. He deserved a full hour. At the very least, a half an hour. And they had to have talked to Joe Petito about this case because he was one of their hosts. And he wasn't on there, was he? And we all know why, because it was said at the beginning of this. Rewind if you need to go back and look at what they said about Joe Petito and how he got threats when Seth and Tony wanted to have him on. Yeah. Waste an awful lot of time on the windows where the answers are already known. Exactly. Yep. They never mentioned the reward from dog. I don't understand that. Right? And yes, Robin, no one was in the house. All they'd have to do is just listen to Chris's droning on and on about not wanting anybody near his home and threatening CJ for, because he thought CJ was going to go attempt to trespass on his property, which was total bull. The police are lucky they even let him in. He didn't allow anybody on Seth's team to go back in the house with dogs. He said no. He's so protective over what's his. If they had done just a little bit of research, they would have known that. So much going on with everyone in this case. Yeah. There really is, guys. And, like I have said from the beginning, when I first started talking about this case, I held my judgment on the parents, and Yeah, stick to you and daily to watch videos from. Exactly. I appreciate that, Katie. But so much, you know, from the beginning, I said, you know, I gave the parents the same chances, right? But it didn't take long for Chris and Katie's inconsistencies to shine through. Their story kept changing. And then when you start watching statement analysis and behavior analysis and everything else that goes along with it, you see those emails that come out that say that they wanted to get rid of him. You hear about Chris abusing him and 5 CPS reports. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I'm not. I understand that Chris and Katie are innocent until they're proven guilty in a court of law. That doesn't mean that I don't suspect them of something, because I do. I suspect them of Sebastian's abduction, allegedly, and in my opinion. That doesn't mean anybody has to agree with me, but like that Vicky earlier, you're not going to come in here and show hate, right? Because I'm not trying to spread hate. I am trying to bring the truth to light. And whatever you guys think is whatever you guys think. It's up to you. I don't have a problem with that, right? Can you all imagine being new to hearing about Sebastian and then coming in here? Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I could see how that would be disturbing to someone if they just heard about Sebastian and they come in here, you know. I don't know. Yeah, they did say foul play, and they were right about that. Oh, Blue Star is used inside the house, usually, Robin, or inside cars, vehicles, that kind of stuff, right? Depending on where they're going to look. So it was used inside, and that's probably why Katie and Chris had the house professionally cleaned after that. More than likely. Let's quickly finish up here.
Has been increased, offering leads and information to both Summer Wells and Sebastian, and terms and conditions now apply. And they're very clear what those terms and conditions are related to the reward. So nobody can mistaken what this is. This case needs to be solved. Both of these cases are solvable case. Both of these cases, in my opinion, have very similar situations, parties involved, everything. But I think it was Don and Candace. Whatever happened to Summer, they both know, and I think Chris and Katie both know what happened to Sebastian. Just in my opinion, and for the rest of my life, while I'm an American citizen, I'm entitled to that, and I'm entitled to vocalize that as well. Contact 911 or authorities first. Night Media is completely responsible for this now $500,000 reward. They're not pulling back the reward. Actually, they increased it and they added Summer Wells to the pool of money as well. I don't know how that works, with the two of them. Was it $250 a piece? Is it $500,000 a piece? I mean, that's a lot. So when you're increasing rewards like that, you have to put some, some rules and regulations in place so there is no misunderstanding or anything being misconstrued, because this is a legal situation, right? They're saying if you do XYZ, you will be eligible for this reward. So I think it's much, much clearer. I know people may want to try to twist it and turn it the way they want to turn it and run a narrative, their narrative that they would like to run. But at the end of the day, I think it is very crystal clear on how to get this money if you have information.
To help find him. Sebastian Rogers was about 5'5" when he was last seen, and he wears glasses. Sebastian is not comfortable with strangers.
If you're someone from this small town and you're in this neighborhood, check your cameras. There might be someone sitting on
A year later, check your cameras. Wow.
some doorbell cameras footage. I bet you he's in this small town in Tennessee.
Wow, that's an interesting theory.
But this isn't the most rural area in the world. We're not talking about out in the Rocky Mountains. This is a neighborhood
There's
where
a highway going this up.
There's high foot traffic everywhere, and still no sign of him.
Wow. Thank you to our team of experts. And you all know our purpose is to examine these cases.
Well, do your research if you're going to examine these cases. I'm sorry. In the absolute very least, 5 CPS calls reports. That's a problem. And now we have a whole child gone. But don't be mad. Right. And thank you, K9. Yes. I think there's quite a few who would scare them way more. I'm just not going to lie. I won't. You know, I could be a lot worse. Like K9 said, I could be a lot worse. I could just really attack them, but I don't. You know, I just believe that they're responsible. He was in their home last. That's not too far-fetched. And from everything else we've learned over the past year. It would be great if everyone that watched AMW should then watch this video for some truth about the soggy bread they are trying to sell. Right? Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, and the Sebastian isn't comfortable around strangers. Well, guys, that's so stupid. I mean, we saw the video of Sebastian dancing at SeaWorld and wasn't afraid of strangers at all. Granted, he's older now. You know, but I mean, are we all somewhat afraid of strangers? I mean, that could be anybody, really, right? Exactly. I'm not LE, but I have my prime suspects. Ditto. I am not LE, but I have my prime suspects. I do. I'm not going to lie about it. The last thing I would ever do to any of you in my chat, my family, I'm not going to lie to you about what I think. I'm just not. I'm going to try to be fair and honest at all times. And I always try to bring you the truth. And if I'm wrong about anything, I don't have a problem saying I'm wrong about something, right? So, you know, and if people have differing views, that's okay here. We don't care, right? We just talk about it, and maybe even if we have to agree to disagree, that's okay too. I don't expect everybody to be a yes person. It would make for a very boring chat. So, yeah. I just found that the way that they put this video together, exactly chemistry. I am too. And same thing with me, K9. I was shy, so that could appear as fear as well. Yeah. The older I get, I'm more. Well, think about what the world is now, right? You got people doing mass shootings and, you know, at big places that you gather. It makes me not want to go to anything, right? I mean, it's, yeah, you know, so the older I get, the more fearful I get of things. I don't want to be I don't want to put myself in a big arena that could end up being a possible problem for me, right? I'm getting old. I can't run too fast anymore. I don't think Sebastian is so desperate for friends that he'd run out to play tag with strangers in the middle of the night, but I also don't think he'd freak out and run away at a smile and a hello. Yeah, I don't think so either. And I honestly think that, let's see, I know more now about creepy people than I did as a child, right? As children, we're not going to be as fearful of strangers. That's why we try to tell our children don't talk to strangers, because they don't know better, right? I agree with you, K9. If Lacey was growling at somebody, boy, you could be, and she's a lover. But I think that if anybody were to try to attack me or Brenda Joe, woe to that person. Because it wouldn't be a good thing. I honestly think that she would tear into them. So animals have really good instincts, for sure. For sure. So let's see. My grannyism for today. Pretty simple. Denying the truth doesn't change the facts. Right? And let's face it, Chris is the type of person who wants to tell us the sun is green. And we all see the truth. Right? Katie, the same thing, except she's a little bit more cunning, right? She might say the sun is greenish yellow. But we see and we know the truth, you know. Denying the truth does not change the facts, you know. And guys, no, I'm not here to pit one parent against the other. That's the last thing that I would do. What happens between Seth and the Proudfoots are between them. I am. You like my analogy, Ginger? I am not here to pit them against each other. I'm not. You know, if you remember that time at the vigil where Chris was up in Seth's face, and then Seth came out and said he was going to work with them. And he got kind of a little bit touchy because people were, condemning him for working with them. I did not have a problem with him wanting to work with them. That's up to him. You can see that didn't work out. And I think we all knew that wouldn't have worked out. So, but I'm not here to pit them against each other at all. At all. What's happened between those three people is their business. These two have only validated my original feeling about them. I have mad respect for Seth. Yeah. He shows unbelievable restraint. Yes, he does. I am sure CP has pitted them against each other with the threats to Seth. Exactly. I mean, you heard him come out after Seth, and what did Seth do more recently? He's had enough. He's not going to take it. And when Chris kept threatening Seth that he was going to tell about Sebastian being SA'd as a child, Seth stood up and said something about that too. He wasn't going to let Chris hold that over his head. Seth doesn't let Seth is stronger than I think a lot of people think. And he's not going to let Chris hold things over his head. He's not going to let that happen. Yeah. They don't need any help from the public. We, my little channel is not going to affect the relationship between those three. I don't know any of them. I have not talked to any of them. And guys, that's a way I plan to keep things, just so you know, in the future with other stories and things. I don't ever plan on getting involved with the parents of missing children because I've seen what can happen and it's not worth it. For a few minutes of getting a lot of views to have one of them on my show isn't worth all the drama that can come from that. So that's not something that you'll probably ever see me do. I'm not going to say never, but I really don't think that it's going to be something that I do for that reason. I've watched everything. When you look at the Summer Wells case, and Sebastian's case, yeah. Not going to do that. Not going to do it. Yes, that's a really good point, Ginger. We have listened to the experts and they have guided our opinions. They have. So it's just about 9 more minutes, and actually the mob crew is going to be on. So we're going to end it there for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you all so much. Please, please, please hit the like button on your way out, because I'm sure we have at least one unlike from today's episode, which is all right. But yes, please hit the like button, and we'll see you tomorrow night, and hopefully see you over at the Mob Crew. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granny'scrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one.